How would you define success? Is it a metric, like the number of kids you have, how much money you make, or how many followers you have on TikTok? Is it abstract, like how you feel about yourself and the path you're on? John Platillero measured success by the love he gave others. This documentary started out as a birthday surprise to honor my parents and the business they built. Yes, this is the story of Eventbooking. And it's our story. Every choice John and Mitzi made came from love. The way they built their business and somehow also really prioritized me and my brother's childhood in a loving and present way. The way they supported their employees to have the same freedom to be with their families too. The way they focused their business on real customer problems and believed in their software solution no matter how long it took to catch on. If there's one thing I learned from my dad, it's that a life of adventure and purpose is worth the risk. And every challenge he faced, no matter how tough, brought him continually back to his faith in a God who helped him overcome every single time. His favorite Bible verse is Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. It says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will direct your paths." My dad didn't know how his journey would unfold, and certainly never predicted this path, but God had good plans for him, and John stewarded every opportunity with courage, hope, and joy. This is his story. I hope it inspires you too.
Yeah. Hi, Jack. Here we are. Why not? My daughters. Well, I was born in Miami, but I was raised in Spain. My dad is Spanish. He was born in Alicante. And me and my 5 siblings moved over to Spain when I was probably 8 or 9 years old. And I grew up there, went to Spanish school system there. I made a lot of friends, learned to play soccer, learned to play guitar. We lived close to the beach, would go swimming all the time, and it was a great way to grow up. But as I got a little older, there was friction between my dad and I. My dad and I didn't have conversations. He was a preacher, and he had a church and a very small congregation in Spain, and he preached to me. When we talked, he was preacher. I was a person who needed to change and needed to fix and needed to correction, etc. So, and I did, but I was a rebellious teenager, and he didn't know how to handle that.
Johnny really wanted to work or do something, and my dad just wanted him to help build this house, and there was a lot of friction.
You get to a certain age, there's nothing to do in Spain.
I was flunking out of high school. I felt restless. I didn't feel like I had a real purpose in Spain. All I could think of was leaving.
I can remember very well going to sleep at night, hearing him singing "Country Roads Take Me Home to the Place I Belong," and I remember just saying, "Oh, what's gonna happen to Johnny and Daddy?" And it was breaking my heart.
So when I was 18, that's when I had a confrontation with my dad, and I said, I've got to go back. And he said, well, if you go back, then you're on your own, and you can't take anything from here, not my guitar, not my clothes or anything. And so with a shirt on my back and a few dollars that I'd saved up, I went out to the main highway near our house, walked out there and stuck the thumb out and started hitchhiking.
The phone rings, and the yaya says, "Anita, es Juanito." And I'm like, "What?" So I take the phone, and he says, "Look outside the window downstairs. I will never forget this moment." I go and look out the window, and there's a phone booth down there, and there's Johnny waving at me. And I'm like, "He's here, he's here." He had made it. It was incredible.
We were happy for him because he was playing soccer in America, going to high school, playing music, making friends, and he was doing really well.
I was so set on joining the military, the Air Force, that I did it before I even started my last year in high school. For somebody like me, I needed to know what the expectations and what the boundaries were. And the Air Force has all that. And I got to live in Italy 2 years, in Colorado 2 years, and I saved the money. I got some night school training and got some college under my belt and figured out what I wanted to do in college. So it was absolutely life-changing for me in the most positive way.
There was a vivid image that I have of him coming back, and he was living in Italy at the time, and he was driving a Fiat Supermedia Fiori, a really cool Italian car, and we thought, this is amazing. He left a child, 17 years old I think he was, or 18 maybe, and he returned a man with a job and with stability.
You mentioned my wife. I mean, I can't take credit for meeting someone so that without her I wouldn't be here. We just wouldn't be talking.
I was pulling into a church parking lot. There was a car of a friend of mine, Kevin, parked in the parking lot, and John was sitting in the passenger seat. I found out you were in EE, electrical engineering, and computer science EE. They're kind of similar. So that night I went home and told my mother, he seems like the kind of guy I'd like to marry. And I prayed about it, had butterflies in my stomach, and said, God, if you want this to happen, you'll have to make it work. I don't know if I'll ever see him again.
I'm on the University of Tennessee campus. I just noticed her walk by, and I was like, whoa, I know her. And she walked into a computer lab. I kind of walked after her, and as she was sitting down, I said, don't I know you? So I asked her out for lunch, and we went to lunch every day thereafter. And 9 weeks later,
December 11th, he came in the room and just got down on the knee beside me. I was sitting at the computer screen. It was so prophetic.
Oh, I know, yeah. We'll be like computers.
Will you marry me? He had the ring.
Yeah, sharp. Thank you very much. Just remember, after you get married.
I thee wed.
Mitzi, with this ring I thee wed.
Wear it as a sign of all that I have promised.
I have so much respect and admiration for her. I mean, without her, we wouldn't have survived.
You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Here we go.
1988, I graduated college and got a job as an electrical engineer, and eventually ended up at a company called Alcoa, aluminum company. I was there almost 8 years at Alcoa, so I gave it a good run, but I also wasn't a great fit. I wasn't the engineer's engineer. My first experience doing something that was completely my own creation was concert promotion. We were going to a small church, and my wife and I are musicians, and so I thought, let's create an environment where musicians can get together.
Hello, my name is John Platillero, and I'm the president and founder of the Christian Music Connection.
John was an electrical engineer at Alcoa during the week, and on the weekends he was a Christian concert promoter here in Knoxville.
In the end, I got to meet one of my guitar heroes. His name is Phil Kagi. He was my first paid concert. That whole experience was so good. I think if it had been a flop, I may never have done it again. I wish I remembered the actual day and what I typed in, but the idea that you could go in a browser, but you could type words that somebody gave you. So this is my address. You type that in, and you can see on the screen whatever they want you to see. To me, that was mind-blowing.
The genesis of the idea for Eventbooking was that he had difficulty getting avails from
Tim Reese over at Thompson Bowling Arena in order to exchange information and secure a show.
You're going to an arena manager, you're going to a small venue manager, and they literally are booking all of the acts in a paper calendar.
I've got a book and I'm gonna write it and we're gonna keep up with it.
The problem was all the departments had to have access to the information. So if you had one notebook and you had 5 departments, sometimes the notebook got lost, sometimes misplaced, sometimes it just grew legs and walked away.
I told Mitzi one morning I woke up and I just had this clear vision for this concept.
He said, man, I got an idea for a business. I've been thinking about this software thing and, we've been working with Christian Music Connection and we're getting connected with all these artists and trying to book them and route them and the calendars and schedules. I think I could solve a problem here.
I just thought, wow, we could build software and deliver software in that way. If we could do that, that would be so revolutionary.
He would begin to start talking about this vision that he had. I go, okay, yeah, you want to start building what we now call a SaaS business model, but he was thinking about this in the mid-90s, which is insane, because it's so ahead of its time.
I quit my job in 1995 to pursue this.
Yeah, where's Alcoa, Lisa?
Well, you used to work.
What do I do now?
Go to school.
Why am I going to school?
Because you want to learn only things that you don't know how to do.
That's right.
Our kids were little, very small, so when they go to bed, I could work, and I'd get up at 4 or 5 in the morning and work. There was no bullet list of step 1, 2, 3, and 4 is what we need to do to launch. It was raise money, get Rob on board, start building software. Polestar kind of sponsored our rollout in February of '99. We were the big splash. You came in and there was a big poster on the wall, that said Eventbooking, the next wave.
Right there at the very beginning of the .coms, Eventbooking was right on the edge. It was either going to make it or not make it.
The biggest challenge that EB had when it first came out was the agents saw it as a threat.
As a talent agent, I want the right people to know the right information at the right time. And if it's just available to anyone at any time, then it can lead to chaos.
That was it. Gain their trust. We're here for the long haul, and this will eventually work. It has to start somewhere. The odds were really against us.
Within a few weeks, we saw it in the data, was that venues were not keeping their calendars updated. It was a secondary calendar for them. Event booking was a task that they'd have their secretary update once a week. So it wasn't real-time information.
So we got a bunch of the venues on, we got a bunch of the booking agents on, and then, a couple of months, and the booking agents were like, we don't have enough venues, and the venues were like, got enough booking agents, and everybody was like, goodbye. It was dead. It flopped.
Everybody wanted the benefits, but nobody wanted to do the work. It's great to have these huge ideas, but you have to have the resources to pull in the information, and when you rely on somebody's goodwill, sometimes all you get back is hugs and kisses, but no work.
I really thought it was over at that point. I remember coming home one day and just collapsing on the bed, looking up at the ceiling and just saying to Mitzi, what have I done to our family?
It was really hard, disappointing. Like I said, we would have been better off if we'd kept our corporate America jobs.
When you flop, that means you got no money, so it was not great. But what happened was Pam DeVille, who was one of the first ones to sign on, she was like, yeah, this didn't do what we hoped, but we really need some decent software for booking our calendar. And we kind of like what you have here. If you could make a few more changes to it, we would pay you to use it to manage our calendar. And John was like, yeah, that's what we're gonna do. because we got to make some money. We got something that people want, people like, people are going to pay money for, and then we'll get back to the network when we get there.
It's exactly what we needed to really get focused and have a viable solution.
It was a scary time, but John sort of hits everything with full speed, with a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of passion, and a lot of optimism. A lot of optimism.
And when it was scrapping time or when scrounging or whatever, he never lost his vision or hope. I'm telling you, I mean, that's the amazing thing about him.
Where am I? It's me, the new EB. Can it do everything the old EB could do? Of course, and lots more. The calendar itself is easier to use.
And a lot of companies were not driven by this real desire to create value that would span the test of time. It was find a unicorn, ride it to exit, try to find another unicorn, ride it to exit, or just build something, cash out. That was the mood. He wasn't about that. He really wanted to make people's lives better.
The first 5 years were brutal because it was just a waiting game in a lot of ways. And we were just hoping for those early adopters to hang in there with us.
All the programming was me and Rob. So anytime John had a new idea, it felt like a burden. Oh no, more work.
So the big joke was, Mitzi's always saving the company. Mitzi's saving the company.
Mitzi was working on the weekends and at night, keep the business going, and she was. But then also so much that she contributed in allowing John to do what he needed and wanted to do.
We weren't profitable, we were still losing money, so we were credit card debt, we had our own money that we put in, home equity line of credits to keep us in the early 2000s.
There were times when it'd be coming to the end of the month and we'd need to make payroll. It's like, how much do I need to get in? So I'd be calling people, following up on invoices to get them funds in time for us to get them in the bank to make payroll. God would show up and Arco Arena would call with a $10,000 programming project that they needed done right away, and money would come in, and it was just continually seeing God's hand in action.
There was always something that gave me a little hope. Either it was an idea of a feature or it was a good month of sales. The hope also was grounded in faith that God had brought me to build this company for a reason. Not worrying about the results as much, but just taking care of the next thing.
The man has been non-stop for 12 days straight.
We got a new office space, and I got a beautiful office with big windows, and I loved going in every day and looking out the window. You could see a creek and some trees in the distance, and it felt light.
Event booking, you guys do pretty well.
Yes, yeah.
Do you talk about revenues?
We don't. It's a private company, and but it's doing very well. Good growth. 6, 7, 8. It's coming. It's coming. All of that's coming. I think 7. Sure.
With the second iteration of event booking, there were a lot of, as Rob used to say, we're fixing a bus while it's driving down the road. There were a lot of server slowdowns and software bugs and different crises.
It reached a point where continuing to program onto that was not the best experience for the client, and any addition or change could potentially break something else.
I remember sitting in his office and him saying, we gotta start with a blank sheet of paper. But he didn't say it that way. He said, we gotta start with a blank sheet. We gotta do it all over again. See, let's his hands start moving, the whiteboard starts filling up with stuff. It wasn't dread.
Not very many owners and founders would put the pause on a successful product, which G28 was, but then have the vision to see this wasn't going to carry them in the future and they needed to pivot, which was a tremendous cost, both in terms of money and manpower and everything else.
The overwhelming thing I remember is just one of trust that he had for the people working for him. Everyone was working together with a common goal, and the common goal being the best event software that you could have. So VenueOps was the product that was going to take on the big dog.
It was very clear, it was very clean, it was very simple to understand, and we wanted to be a disruptor to the industry. And so we set about making choices that would be disruptive, and it was successful.
General manager of the Sacramento Convention Center said that on their previous software platform, their onboarding manual was like 40 pages for just the software side. His onboarding manual was a single sheet, two-sided, that he could hand to employees. We installed it, it was a minimal install, and they were just up and going, from day one.
It was customer feedback. It was going to conferences, having the customers come and tell us how amazing the software was, or having them write emails in to tell us how much time they were saving using event booking products. That's when we knew we were doing the right thing.
That product, again, is VenueOps, the latest software designed for convention centers, theaters.
Yeah, cut. Hey, John, we need to dial back on the sales pitch just a little bit.
Culture eats everything for breakfast. The culture in a company, it determines who the people are you attract, how the teams are set up, how the teams work together, and so forth.
These were our original family dishes from our wedding.
So Friday lunch, everybody would sit around the table. Lunch would be provided. When we first started out, it was fairly low budget, but the food really wasn't the purpose. It was bringing the people together, talking to each other, celebrating wins, maybe addressing some challenges.
I think some of my happiest moments at Event Booking were when we had our annual retreats, because that was the moment that we all got to come together and celebrate one another. It just was exciting to see us all come together, celebrate what we had done, and feel supported by our leaders and supported by our peers and excited for our peers and our different teams. Was just so electrifying.
I loved when we got to that point where VenueOps was selling really well. And I remember just some really fun conversations with John where we started hiring these amazingly talented people to come join our team. And I remember John being like, I can't believe she's on our team. I can't believe he joined our team.
Friday lunches got to be a little fancier. We had a chef come in for a bit there and make these custom delicious meals for us. Every year, everybody would come to my house. We'd have a big party in my backyard and play badminton and throw the frisbee. And the EB Lake Party, trampoline, and
all of our little areas to play, socialize, at a lot of events out here.
We weren't just employees coming into a company trying to, we give our 8 hours and then clock out. And it was very much like we felt like a small family.
as we grew, some of the challenges were, of course, me as a leader, learning how to manage people, learning how to trust people, learning how to delegate.
I started in 2015, and I think there were 14 or 15 employees, and everything, obviously, was flowing through John. It was John's passion, John's energy, John's ideas. But then as things started clicking, we started hiring people. You get to 20, you get to 25. You can't just have everything flow through one person.
As the company kept growing, it seemed apparent that to grow more, Dad was actually going to have to step back and have other people kind of take control of his baby.
John was very shaken on the phone and said, "Steve, I can't talk now. My son David's just been hit by a car and we're on our way from Knoxville to Nashville. We don't know what's going on."
That was right when, literally days from when they were transitioning to hiring this new president.
I spoke to John and said, "Look, if we need to push this back 6 months, whatever, let's just do that." He's like, no, come down. So I walk into the hospital and they're trying to transfer him to a wheelchair. He was crying, Mitzi was crying, I started crying, and I was like, "John, let's just move this back." And in true John fashion, he just said, "Steve, honestly, this is the best thing that could have happened." He said, "David's going to need a lot of my time over the next 12 months or so, and if you weren't coming in to be able to do what you're going to do and take over the running of the business for me, I couldn't possibly give David the time that he needs and help him with his recovery." So he said, "I view this as a blessing." And I mean, that's John Platillero to a T, right?
That was an abrupt stop. All of a sudden, I wasn't, involved day to day in the company. James and Steve were carrying the load and the whole team without me.
I call it extravagant love. He just dropped everything, and they came.
We wanted to do right by John. We wanted to see the company succeed. And so there was definitely that ethos working within the company while he was gone for a number of months there.
That was the first taste of, like, you don't control everything that happens in life, and sometimes there is a different life than day in, day out event booking.
Didn't hurt to see the risk in making a change. Didn't come in giving up what you held on to so tightly. But I'm letting go to refine my soul.
January of 2020, we had a company retreat. We decided as a company that 2 days a week we were going to let people work from home. So then in March 2020, when you couldn't go back to work, we were all set.
Work from home, check in, right here. Joy, can you say hello?
Hello. Always make sure that you're dressed presentably.
This is where I hang out. It's not a bad place, really. I've got it set up. So I got a little sound system.
But it was a very sad time for me because my favorite thing was coming into the office and seeing people and the energy and the joy. And now I was sitting on my front porch and wondering what's the world going to look like. And venues were shut down. It was a really sobering time. That whole year, I started feeling like maybe this is the end of the run for me. That's when we were contacted by a private equity firm, and the timing, I mean, it could only have been then. I'd been approached in the past by other companies, and I never gave it more than a few minutes of thought. A lot of the negotiations centered around this idea of, are you going to value the reputation of our brand? Are you going to value the quality of our software, how little technical debt we had? And most importantly, are you going to take care of this incredible team that we've all built together? And when I felt like they valued all of that, then I felt like it was time. I trust that God gave me peace to lay it down, and kind of you fought hard and you gave it all you had, and time for somebody else to take it from here. It had to be that way because it was everything. The company, the people. Now I'm in a new phase, and it's beautiful. Grandkids I get to spend time with, and still learning, how and what I'm supposed to use my time for. But it was a great run to have been part of that.
The legacy of event booking is, one, how much we loved and focused on the live entertainment space and how good we were there. And two, just that we were a company that really cared a lot.
He cares about this industry in a way that I've truly never seen someone care about an industry before.
The fact that event booking was, so well created, it made a lot of people not have to work as hard or as long, and gave them opportunities to spend more time with their family.
I do think he got respect from the industry of being authentic, and I think that's what people want, the authenticity.
Standing on his head, clapping his feet, all those kinds of things he would do. And you always think, well, this isn't what they told me in college about what my future boss would be like.
You need somebody like that in your life. You need somebody that's positive, that's energetic, that loves to be in a relationship, that wants to actually do something instead of just sit around and, I don't know, he's just a lot of energy.
John and Mitzi the fullness of who they are, their absolute humanity and compassion.
He would bend over backwards for the other employees. Whether your tire was flat or you had car trouble to family problems, he was always very understanding.
Making sure that he took the time to let people know that he cared about you in your day-to-day life, not just how you performed.
They've been making maybe not the most common choice, but the most giving and generous and supportive choice.
There has been such a high bar set for the type of company I would want to be a part of and the type of leader I want to be.
Yeah, we all miss him, but he's doing what he needs to do, and he's setting one hell of an example.
Nona used to pray that we would have enough success to support the families working here, but not so much success that we forgot where we came from.
I thought I'd be sad, but you know, I'm leaving EB in good hands. Bye-bye.
Growing up comes quickly if you blink